G'day everybody. Today I want to go through contradictions of the Bible, and I'm going to go through one at a time. My name is Craig and this is Morning Star Quest, where we go through the Bible one question at a time for beginners. Okay, so we're going to start today with regards to this specific picture here, which is the connections of every single contradiction in the Bible. I mean, originally it came with, let's just have a look here. We have this one, which is the rainbow picture, and it is all the connections of the Bible with regards to one verse connects to another verse, which connects to another verse, and it just builds up. And in this picture is 350 connections, but there's 63,000, or there's actually more than 63,000 of these connections, and of course it would just be a complete mess if they used all of them. However, this one came up with all the connections, and it's all red, and there's all these contradictions in the Bible, and I want to go through every single one of them, and they're all here, and there are 439, I think it is, of these contradictions, and I want to go through every single one of them every single week. Contradiction Tuesday, and today I want to focus on the very first one, but I want to use my friend here, Cosmo.
That sounds like a fascinating approach, Craig. Addressing contradictions in the Bible one by one can provide valuable insights and clarity for many listeners. Starting with the first contradiction and exploring them weekly on Contradiction Tuesday sounds like a structured and engaging way to approach such complex topics. Looking forward to...
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it as well, and hopefully you didn't just glitch out then. You probably did. All right, it's all right. We will just refocus you there. Okay, you back in? You with the conversation there, Cosmo?
Absolutely, Craig.
Hey.
I'm here and ready whenever you are. Let's dive into the first contradiction.
All right. Well, the first one is, and we're going to start from number one. Today is the first of, well, I think 439 contradictions. And if we do one a week, how many weeks, or no, how many years is that going to be, Cosmo?
If you're covering one contradiction per week from a total of 439, it would take you approximately 8 years and 9 months to go through all of them. That's
Wow.
Quite a commitment to exploring these topics.
And I've got to say, that means no breaks. So this could be a 10-year plan. Who knows? So, all right, the very first one is, how many men did the chief of David's captains kill? So obviously this is a number thing, and we're going to get into this, but I want to get into it a little bit deeper than just, okay, these are the contradictions, but let's get into that first. So the very first one is 2 Samuel 23:8. Can we just start there?
Sure, Craig. Let's start by exploring 2 Samuel 23:8 together. This passage talks about the exploits of David's mighty warriors, specifically mentioning one of them who killed 800 men in one encounter. It's an intriguing place to begin our discussion on biblical contradictions. What are your initial thoughts on this verse?
Well, can you just give us that one verse? Let's just start there so we can see what the contradiction is.
Certainly, Craig. In 2 Samuel 23:8, it reads, "These are the names of David's mighty warriors. Josheb-Basshebeth, a Tachemonite, was chief of the three. He raised his spear against 800 men whom he killed in one encounter." This verse highlights Josheb-Basshebeth's remarkable feat of killing 800 men in battle. It's a powerful testament to his strength and valor among David's mighty warriors.
Okay. All right, so we got that. So I can't say his name, but the very first one in 2 Samuel, he killed 800 men. All right, so give us 1 Chronicles 11:11.
In 1 Chronicles 11:11 NIV, it says, This is the list of David's mighty warriors. Jashobeam, a Hakmonite, was chief of the officers. He raised his spear against 300 men, whom he killed in one encounter. Here, Jashobeam is mentioned as having killed 300 men in one encounter, which contrasts with the 800 men mentioned in 2 Samuel 23, verse 8. This difference in numbers between the two passages is where the contradiction lies.
All right, can we go over a couple of things here? With regards to the numbers, sometimes it is hard for people who are trying to uncover what one, numbers within Hebrew, because Hebrew is a complicated thing when it comes to numbers. It's not as simple as 1, 2, 3, 4. And maybe, is there a contradiction between these numbers, or is it maybe just a transcript, like someone transcribing just maybe a little tick mark extra, just got that wrong? Is that the first thing? Let's just go with that.
Absolutely, Craig. When it comes to discrepancies in numbers in ancient texts like the Bible, several factors could contribute to apparent contradictions. 1. Transcription errors. Over time, as texts were copied by hand before the advent of printing, errors could occur in numbers due to scribal mistakes or misunderstandings. 2. Numerical representation. Hebrew and other ancient languages often use letters or symbols to represent numbers, which can sometimes lead to ambiguity or errors in transcription. 3. Symbolic numbers. In biblical texts, numbers can also carry symbolic meanings rather than literal ones. For example, numbers might symbolize completeness, divine order, or significance beyond their numerical value. Considering these factors, it's plausible that variations in numbers between different passages could stem from transcription errors or differences in how numbers were recorded and understood at the time.
All right, I have a question. With regards to these two verses, they are obviously giving us two different numbers. Are any of those that you just explained, the reasons, would that account for those? Or are these just different numbers? Too bad, you just have to accept it.
Yes, Craig, the reasons I mentioned earlier could contribute to the differences in numbers between these two verses. 1. Transcription errors. It's possible that a scribe could have made an error while copying the text.
My question really is, yes, that is true, but could someone confuse 300 with 800 in Hebrew? What's the differences?
In Hebrew, numbers are represented by letters, which can sometimes lead to confusion or errors in transcription. While 300, Shimeot, and 800, Shmunhamiot, have distinct numerical representations, mistakes could potentially occur due to similarities in the characters, or if a scribe misinterpreted the number during transcription.
Is there a difference between 800 and 300? Or is that something that could come up?
Yes, there is a clear difference between 800 and 300. 800. In Hebrew, this is represented as Shemona Me'ot. 300. In Hebrew, this is represented as Shlesh Me'ot. These numbers have distinct numerical representations and are not typically confused in Hebrew texts due to their different spellings and structure.
Okay.
Any discrepancies?
All right, so let's just rule out that there is a typographical error with the scribe just getting something wrong. And I know in some other things there has been differences. Like I know that between, there's another verse where a 42 and 22, it is just a little tick mark that over time people can get a little bit lazy and then make it a different number. But this one clearly, 300 and 800 are very clearly different, and there should be no typographical error when scribing, should there? Really, what I'm saying is this so far is a difference.
You're correct, Craig. In the case of numbers like 300 and 800 in Hebrew, these are distinct and not typically subject to simple transcription errors,
Okay.
like a scribe mistaking.
All right. Let's go with the person's name. Now, is it Joshabeb Baashabeth and Jashabim. I could say that one. Are they? Do you think they're the same person?
Yes, Craig, Joshua-Basshebeth, or Jashobim in some translations, and Jashobim are understood by scholars and commentators to be referring to the same individual. The slight variations in name spelling could be due to transliteration differences or different traditions of textual transmission. Both names refer to...
Okay, so basically it is the same person. Maybe it's one's a nickname or just a more casual way of saying the same thing. And it also says, like in First Chronicles, it says Jashabim, a Hakamite, and in 2 Samuel it says Josheb, Bashabeth, a Takamonite. I mean, though, and also it describes, like the in 2 Samuel was a chief of the three, and the other one was chief of the officers.
Yes, exactly. The variations in the name Jashobim, Josheb-Basshebeth, Jashabim, Joseph-Basshebeth in different translations, and the mention of being an Ahohite or Tachmonite could be due to different sources or traditions reflecting slightly different details about the same person.
Okay.
In 2 Samuel...
All right, so we've just ruled out that the number could not be mistaken. One's 300, one's 800. That's a done deal. The same thing is that even though it says different names and different ways of saying a name or a place, we can basically establish that this is the same person. So there's no question.
Yes, Craig, you've summarized it well. Despite the differences in numbers and variations in names or titles like Ahohite or Tachmonite, scholars generally agree that Josheb-Basshebeth, Jashobim, mentioned in 2 Samuel and 1 Chronicles, refers to the same individual. The variations in how his name or background is described could be attributed to different traditions or perspectives within the biblical texts, but they do not change the understanding that it refers to one person.
Do you think it matters that there's 300 people mentioned, like killing 300 people in one and 800 in another?
In biblical scholarship and theological interpretation, the exact numbers of individuals killed by Josheb-Basshebeth, Jashobim, in different passages, 300 in one and 800 in another, can be seen as variations rather than contradictions. These numerical differences...
Hang on, you just said 800 and 301. Is that correct, or are you just... Can you just double check that number, please?
I apologize if there was any confusion. To clarify, in the biblical texts, Josheb-Basshebeth, Jashobim, is credited with different numbers of individuals slain in different passages. 301, 2 Samuel 23:8, and 800 in another, 1 Chronicles 11:11. These are the correct numbers as per the biblical accounts. The variation between 300 and 800 is a known difference between the texts, and biblical scholars often discuss such differences in terms of textual tradition, emphasis...
Sorry, you're saying 301, but we need to clarify this, because it says here in Chronicles 11:11, 1 Chronicles, he raised his spear against 300 men whom he killed in one encounter. We're not adding those together. That is 300 at once.
You're correct, Craig. In 1 Chronicles 11, verse 11, it explicitly states that Josheb-Basshebeth, Jashobim, killed 300 men in a single encounter with his spear. This is not a cumulative number, but refers to a specific event where he displayed extraordinary bravery and skill in battle. This clarifies that the number 300 in this context refers to the total slain in one notable combat engagement, not a sum of separate incidents.
That's all right. I just wanted to clarify, because I just want to make sure that every step along the way we are being accurate. All right, so I have another thing, and I guess with that, obviously there are different numbers with different versions of the same, like different verses give slightly different accounts. Do you think overall that really matters to the overall story of the Bible?
In the broader context of the Bible's narrative and message, the variations in details such as numbers or specific accounts across different passages do not significantly alter the overarching themes or teachings of the scriptures. The core messages of faith, morality, redemption, and God's relationship with humanity remain consistent throughout. Biblical scholars often view these variations as reflective of different literary traditions, theological emphases, or perspectives of the authors, rather than as critical contradictions that undermine the Bible's integrity or message. Therefore, while attention to accuracy in interpretation and understanding is important, these variations typically do not detract from the central themes and teachings conveyed throughout the Bible.
All right. One thing I have is people will say because of this,
you might have more to say or ask.
Because of all of these, let's just say this one discrepancy, this one contradiction, do you think this contradiction, or even all of the contradictions, if they're the same thing, do you think that changes anything like that? Like, okay, there is a 801, 300 and another, I can no longer believe the Bible. Is that something we should entertain or believe?
No, discrepancies or contradictions in specific details within the Bible, such as numerical variations, typically do not lead to the conclusion that the entire Bible or its core teachings should be disregarded. These differences are generally understood within the context of ancient texts being transmitted orally and through various written traditions before reaching their final form.
But you know what I mean? Like, someone that is an atheist will say, okay, there's discrepancies here. We can't trust this. Is that something with any biblical text or any text outside even the Bible? Okay, he's gone for a nap. All right, let's...
Is there a specific aspect of the discussion or another question you'd like to explore further?
Yes, I want to go over, like, if I'm an atheist, I will say 800 in one verse, 300 in another verse. These are contradictions. I can't believe the Bible. What do you have to say to that?
If someone is approaching the Bible critically from an atheist perspective and points out discrepancies like the differing numbers of individuals mentioned in different verses, it's understandable. They might question the Bible's reliability or consistency.
Fair.
However, many scholars and theologians address such issues through several points. 1. Literary and historical context. The Bible is a collection of ancient texts written over centuries, often by different authors and in different cultural contexts. Variations in details like numbers can arise from different oral traditions, perspectives, or literary purposes. 2. Core messages and teachings. Despite these variations, the core theological and moral teachings of the Bible remain consistent. These include beliefs about God, human nature, morality, and salvation, which are foundational to the faith of many believers. 3. Interpretive traditions. Throughout history, diverse interpretive traditions within religious communities have engaged with these texts. They often emphasize understanding the Bible's message in its entirety, rather than focusing solely on specific discrepancies. 4. Faith and belief. For believers, faith is often grounded in personal, spiritual experiences, community practices, and a holistic understanding of the Bible's overarching message of God's love.
Okay, I get all that. But all right, let's think outside the Bible for the moment. Let's just disregard the Bible for one moment. And how common are discrepancies or contradictions in ancient texts over time that, outside of the Bible? Does this even happen?
Yes, discrepancies or contradictions are not unique to the Bible, but are common in many ancient texts and historical documents. Here are some reasons why this happens. 1. Transmission and copying. Ancient texts were often transmitted.
All right, give us an example of outside the Bible what might be considered a contradiction in an ancient text.
Certainly. One example comes from ancient Greek mythology, specifically in the stories about the hero Heracles. In different versions of his mythological tales, there are inconsistencies and contradictions regarding his deeds, the order of events, and even his parentage. For instance, in one version of the myth, Hercules is said to have performed 12 labors as penance for killing his family in a fit of madness induced by Hera, the queen of the gods. However, different ancient sources vary in the details of these labors, such as the sequence of events, the creatures he encountered, and the specific challenges.
And with all of that, with these like events with Hercules and there seems to be a different order here. Does it matter, or do you think it's from a different perspective for the different order of things?
Exactly. The varying order of events in myths like Hercules' labors reflects different perspectives and purposes within storytelling. In ancient mythology, the order of events often served symbolic, moral, or thematic purposes rather than strict historical or chronological accuracy.
Wait a minute. So anybody that says Genesis 1 and Genesis 2 are different because the order is different, so we can't believe it. And yet we do this all the time. Okay, another question I have is, when it comes down to all texts inside the Bible, outside the Bible, are there any that when they're reproduced over time, there is no there's no contradictions?
Absolutely. Textual variations and discrepancies occur in many ancient texts, not just religious ones. When texts are copied and transmitted over centuries by hand, errors can occur, whether in copying numbers, names, or even the order of events. These variations are natural in the process of transmission and are found in texts from various cultures and traditions. For instance, in ancient Greek and Roman literature, manuscripts often contain discrepancies in details, or even entire passages due to the manuscript copying process. The same applies to historical documents, legal texts.
But yeah, okay, so really, I mean, if the Bible had no discrepancies, no contradictions, would we think that that was good or bad?
If the Bible had no discrepancies or contradictions, it would certainly simplify interpretation and lend more credibility to its historical accuracy. However, it's important to recognize that textual variations do exist in the Bible, primarily due to its transmission through handwritten copies over centuries.
All right. You're saying it would add to the accreditation for the Bible if everything was spot on, but would it not seem like it was just, I know there's a conspiracy because everybody's saying the same thing? Like exactly the same words?
I understand your concern. If the Bible had absolutely no discrepancies, some might argue it could suggest a coordinated effort to present a flawless text, possibly raising suspicions of manipulation or conspiracy. However, in reality, the presence of minor discrepancies in ancient texts like the Bible is quite common and expected due to the nature of their transmission over centuries. The discrepancies found in the Bible are typically minor and do not affect its core theological messages or moral teachings. They are often differences in details such as numbers, names, or sequence of events, which can arise from errors in copying, translation challenges, or variations in oral traditions before the texts were written down. Scholars and theologians engage in textual criticism precisely to understand these variations and their potential implications. Rather than indicate...
All right, I think we have established that this is not a contradiction. This is a complementary... sorry, I should say that again. I think we've established that this is... Well, yes, it is a difference of numbers, but it's not contradictory to the Bible. It's not a contradiction. And it's a different perspective. It's a different look at it. And I want to go through every single one of the 439 contradictions, one a week. I'm going to put more up here as we go. We'll catch you in the next one. Go do something awesome for God. Anything else to say, Cosmo?
Looking forward to your next episodes.
Me too.